The asteroid belt was a graveyard of light. Fragments of ancient collisions drifted in slow arcs, their surfaces glinting like frozen embers whenever a distant star's light caught the angle. The void between those rocks was darker than deep ocean water, and every shadow felt like it could hide something with teeth. Lieutenant Commander Avery Cole stood at the viewport of Perseus Station, coffee in hand. It was strong, bitter, and tasted faintly of metal, but he drank it without complaint. A soldier didn't measure comfort by flavor, he measured it by readiness. The station was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet his grandfather used to talk about when he told stories of the farm back in Iowa, that strange stillness before a tornado arrived. Back then, the warning came as a green tint in the air, a change in the wind, and the sudden silence of the birds. Out here in the belt, the warning came as a shift in the static and a pulse on the sensors. "Contact," Ensign Gibril said from signals. "Bearing 28 Mark IV, low emission profile, narrowband scan sweep, they're trying to be careful." Cole didn't look away from the viewport. How careful? They're brushing the edges, not a full probe, testing the water. The sound of footsteps approached. Admiral Maya Halden stepped into the control deck with her usual calm stride. She was short, composed, and had the kind of posture that made people straighten without realizing it. Her dark eyes scanned the main board before turning to Cole. "What have we got?" she asked. Cole answered without drama. "Survey ship, not ours, could be Confederation, could be someone else, they're sniffing." Halden nodded once. "Atlas." From the depths of Perseus Station, the AI's voice was immediate and warm. "I'm listening, Admiral." "Mask our systems," Halden said. "Give them a story they can believe." "Understood." All across the station, hidden circuits shifted, power signatures dropped, shield harmonics retuned to mimic civilian-grade arrays. The life support emissions were altered to appear decades old with just enough inefficiency to feel authentic. The Admiral glanced at Cole. "Rule 1, Commander, you don't feed a stranger the truth before you know what they'll do with it." He almost smiled. "You think they'll bite? They wouldn't be here if they weren't hungry." Aboard the alien vessel windspeaker, Commander Sar Vekel stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the dark silhouette of Perseus Station emerge from the asteroid shadows. His science officer, Heathrin, was hunched over the sensor console. "Initial readings indicate human design, primitive in some aspects. Alloy composition is unremarkable, shield output inefficient." Vekel's top right eye narrowed, and Heathrin hesitated, a rare thing for him. "It's too perfectly inefficient, like a painting of a broken door. You can't see the inside, but you know someone wanted you to notice the cracks." The commander gave a low, thoughtful hum. "Humans don't do ordinary," he murmured, echoing a line from his intelligence briefings. The humans had a reputation, a species that arrived late to the interstellar table but learned the rules too fast for comfort. And when they broke the rules, they did it like they'd been the ones to write them. "Proceed," he said, "but slowly." On Perseus, Cole watched the alien ship adjust its course, edging closer in a careful arc. Admiral Halden stood at the central console, reading the rhythm of their movements like a chess player studying an opponent's opening. "They'll start shallow," she said. "Surface scans first, looking for easy tells." Cole nodded. "And when they dig deeper, then we give them something worth finding." Atlas's voice returned. "They're initiating the first sweep now. Do you want me to open the decoy layer?" "Yes," Halden said, "and put something philosophical in there." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Philosophical?" She gave him a side glance. "History isn't just dates and wars, Commander. It's the stories you leave behind for strangers to find. Make them think we're dangerous, but also make them wonder if we have a moral compass." "That's a strange kind of deterrence," Cole said. "It's the only kind that lasts." On the wind speaker, Heathrin frowned at the readings. Picking up a compartment in their outer cargo ring, unshielded or deliberately unshielded, contains an energy device not matching any known weapon signature. "Explain," Vekel said. "It manipulates environmental stimuli at a neural level, could induce calm, could trigger memory recall, could make someone lay down a weapon because they suddenly remember why they swore not to kill." Vekel's brows drew together. A weaponized conscience? Or a safety system? Heathrin admitted. The harmonics are tuned to empathy. Veckel stared at the silhouette of Perseus Station. Dangerous either way. Halden smiled when Atlas confirmed the aliens had found the Phoenix cage. It wasn't humanity's most powerful device, nor its most feared, but it told a story. It hinted at a species that could fight without always choosing to. Cole stepped closer. Why show them that? Because deterrence works best when both sides understand the rules, Halden said, and because if they find it later, they might assume it was built for cruelty. I want them to know it was built for restraint. Cole thought of the old wars, the kind that burned cities to ash. Back then, humanity had measured victory in enemy dead. Now maybe they measured it in lives not taken. The alien ship drifted closer, their scans brushing the station's skin. A civilian cargo tug, small and slow, appeared on the edge of the belt, caught in a bad spin. The crew of Windspeaker reacted instinctively. Distress signal from the tug, Heathrin said. 2 crew aboard, they're losing control. Veckel didn't hesitate. Bring us in, rescue is universal law. They maneuvered carefully, grappling the tug and stabilizing its spin. Inside, the humans aboard were shaken but unhurt. They sent their thanks, voices warm but casual, as if used to strangers helping strangers. The exchange was short, yet in that moment, Veckel learned more about humanity than in 100 intelligence briefings. Hook set, Cole murmured. Halden gave a nod. Atlas open a channel. The comms officer's voice was steady. United Earth to Windspeaker, thanks for assisting our people. Why don't you dock? We have maps to share. Cole watched the alien ship's hesitation, then the course correction toward Perseus. Docking was uneventful. No soldiers lined the airlock, just officers, a medic, and Admiral Halden herself. Welcome to Perseus Station, she said. Coffee or tea? The tour was deliberate. A classroom where children learned about honor and duty, a map room tracking crises across the galaxy. The station's strength was obvious, but so was its discipline. Every hallway felt like it had been walked by people who remembered both their victories and their mistakes. Finally, Halden led Veckel into a quiet chamber. On a central table, a projection of the Confederation's trade routes glowed. Colored threads marked not just human ships, but where they had been watching, intervening quietly. We want to join your Confederation, Halden said. Not as subjects, as equals, with full responsibilities and the right to be told no. Veckel studied her face. Why tell me all this? Because the only lasting alliances are built on truth, she said. And because power is not what you can do, it's what you choose not to do. Before he could reply, Atlas's voice cut in. Confederation Task Force inbound. Admiral Coral commanding. Halden straightened. Well, let's be polite and bring receipts. The approach of the Confederation Task Force showed on Perseus Station's main board like storm clouds gathering over a coastline. Blips appeared, small at first, then swelled into the sharp geometry of warship signatures. They came in formation, 3 broad shields, a spearhead behind textbook military doctrine. Cole's gaze flicked between the tactical display and Admiral Halden. 12 ships. 4 cruisers, 6 frigates, 2 dreadnoughts. Halden didn't raise her voice. Atlas, give me fleet composition with hull histories. Already running, the AI replied. Half their cruisers have stress fractures in the aft trusses. The flagship's primary reactor was overhauled last cycle, but they skipped recalibration on the secondary arrays. Cole smirked. You're reading them like a mechanic checking a used car. That's exactly what we're doing, Halden said. Except the cars have teeth. The comms panel chimed. Confederation flagship hailing. Halden nodded. Put it through. The voice of Admiral Coral filled the control deck, resonant and clipped. United Earth vessels, you are operating in violation of Confederation deployment protocols. Power down all offensive systems and prepare to submit to arbitration. Failure to comply will result in consequences. Halden waited a beat before replying, her tone courteous but edged with iron. Admiral Coral, welcome to Perseus Station. Have you eaten? A pause. We have eaten, Coral said, clearly thrown by the question. We require compliance. You will have cooperation, Halden said smoothly. But first, a matter of mutual housekeeping. Your third cruiser's quartermaster has been adjusting requisition logs to cover unreported farm equipment transfers to his sister's colony. It's a violation of supply chain regulations, but the intention was to keep food on the table. Coral's voice cooled. You've been spying on our internal logistics. Halden didn't blink. You've been scanning our station for the last 20 minutes. Let's call it even. Cole watched Coral's pause, imagining the mental recalibration on the other end. Few officers like being reminded that honor and hypocrisy could share the same bridge. On the wind speaker, Veckel stood silently behind his comms officer, listening to the exchange. Halden's voice was steady, controlled, the voice of someone who had already decided how the conversation would end. It was unnerving. Commander, Heathran said quietly, their database infiltration rate is staggering. They've been inside the Confederation's tactical net since our first scan pulse. Veckel exhaled through his lower lungs. They knew we were coming. On Perseus, Halden shifted the conversation. Admiral, she said, we'd like to propose something other than arbitration. We're here to request membership in your Confederation. Full membership. Equal representation. Cole saw Coral's expression in the holo feed, disbelief, tinged with suspicion. You bring armed fleets into our corridors and call it diplomacy. We bring fleets wherever we expect to be tested, Halden said. And we are always tested. It's an old habit from when we were still learning to survive our own history. Her eyes stayed locked on Coral's. On Earth, we learned that peace without strength invites exploitation, but strength without moral limits becomes tyranny. We don't intend to be either. It was the first piece of moral calculus she had laid openly on the table, a statement that, in another context, could have come from a founding father or a post-war general. Atlas's voice entered the conversation like a quiet hand on the shoulder. We have complete telemetry on their entire formation. I can feed it to the Fifth Fleet in 47 different attack patterns, all non-lethal. Halden subvocalized her response. Hold, this is not a day for humiliations. Understood. Cole caught her eye. Why hold back? Showing them what we can do could end this before it starts. Because the right show of power leaves room for dignity, Halden said. If they feel cornered, they'll fight. If they feel respected, they might think. It was something she'd said before in lectures, that wars often started not from greed or ideology, but from the humiliation of feeling small in front of an audience. On the Confederation flagship, Coral muted his mic and turned to his tactical officer. What do you make of them? The officer hesitated. They are not bluffing, sir. Power readings from their fleet are inconsistent with anything in the registry, and they're tracking us at a granularity I've only seen from internal diagnostic systems. Coral's jaw tightened, so they've already dismantled us, at least on paper. Veckel, patched into the command channel, added quietly, they're not here to dismantle us, Admiral. They're here to join us on their terms. Halden pressed forward. We can solve your piracy problem in 6 months. Coral's brow furrowed. We've been fighting pirates for 50 years. You've been managing them, Halden corrected. There's a difference. You suppress symptoms, we cut the disease at the root. Cole tapped a key and Atlas projected a clean, damning map, every known pirate base, every hidden supply route, every financial transaction that tied the raids to corrupt mid-level officials. Coral's eyes narrowed. How long have you been collecting this? Since before you admitted the problem existed, Halden said. We believe in being prepared. She didn't add the rest, that preparation was the truest form of deterrence and that in human history wars were often won decades before the first shot by the side that did its homework. Coral sat back. You've made your point, but this decision is not mine alone. I wouldn't want it to be, Halden said. The more voices, the better, but understand this. If you say no, we'll respect it. We'll also keep helping where we see fit, because that's what neighbors do. She leaned forward slightly. The question is whether you want to call us neighbors or allies. On the wind speaker, Veckel felt the tension in the room shift. Heathran glanced at him, and for once the science officer's usual skepticism was replaced by something like respect. They are dangerous, Heathran murmured. They are disciplined, Veckel corrected, and that might be worse or better depending on whether they are on your side. Atlas chimed again. Outer sensors detect hyperspace ripple signatures, Confederation reinforcements larger group. Halden's eyes sharpened. Numbers, 32 ships, mixed classes. Cole looked at her. That's more than double ours. Halden didn't flinch. Then it's a good thing our goal isn't to win a battle. Cole almost laughed. Feels like we already did. The next moments would decide whether the galaxy saw humanity as a threat to crush or a force to join. Halden knew this, and knew that whatever came after would be harder than any first contact. Because convincing someone you were strong was easy. Convincing them you would use that strength wisely, that was the work of generations. And this was just the opening move. The Confederation Council chamber floated above the core world of Serath Prime, suspended like a pearl inside a transparent dome. Outside, the planet's blue-white storms twisted in silence, a reminder that nature still dwarfed politics. Admiral Coral stood at the central podium. Before him, the council members, 81 delegates from as many worlds, watched with varying degrees of interest, suspicion, and calculation. Behind the Admiral, Commander Sar Veckel stood silently, hands clasped, eyes scanning the chamber. They arrived with 24 ships, Coral said, voice steady. We have confirmed they hold at least 12 fleets of similar strength. They have technology beyond our registry, intelligence penetration into our logistics, and the capacity to dismantle our piracy networks in months. Murmurs rolled through the chamber. Counselor J. Rada, scaled and sharp-eyed, leaned forward. And they want membership. Coral nodded. Full voting rights. That is unacceptable, J. Rada hissed. We cannot give an armed newcomer equal say in our laws. From the other side of the ring, Counselor Bren, a veteran of border disputes, spoke. Perhaps it is exactly what we need. A predator on our side may keep others at bay. Veckel stepped forward. With respect, this is not a predator that simply kills. They think, they wait, they plan years in advance. A long silence followed. Then Council Chair Mitra, her voice like polished stone, said, If they are to join us, they must prove they share our principles. Hours later, aboard Perseus Station, Admiral Halden listened as Atlas relayed the Council's decision. They have devised a test, the AI said. A single mission. They will not tell us the parameters in advance. They claim it will be a measure of our commitment to Confederation ethics. Cole folded his arms. Sounds like they are looking for an excuse to say no. Or an excuse to say yes, Halden replied. Either way, we treat it as an opportunity. What kind of mission? Cole asked. Atlas's voice carried a faint edge of irony. They want us to intervene in a colonial dispute on the rim. Two settlements, both Confederation member worlds, are locked in conflict over a mining belt. The request is to resolve it without bloodshed and without taking sides. Cole gave a short laugh. So they want us to do the impossible. No, Halden said quietly. They want to see what we choose when every choice has a cost. 3 days later, the USS Resolute dropped out of FTL above the disputed belt. 2 small planets circled a pale yellow star. Between them, an asteroid field shimmered with metallic ore, the prize both sides claimed. Halden and Cole stood on the bridge as the first transmissions came in. Angry voices. Legal documents flung like weapons. Each settlement accused the other of sabotage, theft, and dishonor. Cole muttered, They've been at this for years. Years are easy, Halden said. Decades are harder, generations, that's where grudges become culture. She ordered open comms to both settlements. This is Admiral Maya Halden of the United Earth 5th Fleet. We are here under Confederation mandate to resolve your dispute. All weapons will be powered down while we are in system. Predictably, both sides protested. You have no authority. You side with them. We will not be disarmed. Halden cut through the noise. You've mistaken me for someone asking permission. This is not a negotiation about whether we end this fight. It's about how. For the next 48 hours, the 5th Fleet monitored every ship, every drone, every transmission. The settlements refused to meet face-to-face, so Halden brought their representatives aboard the Resolute separately. To the first, she showed a projection of their children's education records. cross-referenced with mining output data. Every year you fight, your schools lose funding. Every year you fight, your children's literacy drops. Tell me, will they thank you for winning a belt of rocks and losing their future? To the second, she showed casualty reports from preventable accidents in their mines, caused by overwork and lack of equipment. Every year you fight, more of your people die in the dark for lack of spare parts. Tell me, will their families care who holds the deed? Cole watched the sessions, impressed. You're not arguing law, you're arguing legacy. Law changes with treaties, Halden said. Legacy lasts in stories told at kitchen tables. By the third day, both sides had agreed to sit in the same room, still tense, still wary. Halden laid out the proposal, joint administration of the mining belt, profits split equally, overseen by an independent Confederation auditor. Predictably, both sides refused. That was expected. Halden then offered the second proposal. Earth would take temporary stewardship of the belt for 5 years, manage the mining, split the profits evenly, and leave once both sides signed a permanent treaty. They hesitated. The logic was sound, Earth had no claim here, but the distrust ran deep. It was Veckel, standing quietly at the edge, who spoke. If you refuse, you will keep fighting. And while you fight, others will come, pirates, smugglers, black market traders. You'll lose the belt not to your neighbor, but to strangers who care nothing for your children, your dead, or your pride. Silence. Halden leaned forward. You don't have to trust each other. You only have to trust that we will leave this place better than we found it. That is the oath we take. The settlement leaders exchanged a long look. Then, reluctantly, they agreed. 2 weeks later, Perseus Station received the Council's message. The mission was a success. The Council would continue deliberations on Earth's membership. Cole handed the data slate to Halden. So we passed. We showed them what matters, Halden said. We didn't win a resource, we won a precedent. Atlas added they will set more tests, harder ones, some will be traps. Halden nodded. Good, let them test us. Every test is another chance to teach them who we are. Cole gave a half smile, and if they don't like the lesson, then we keep teaching, Halden said, because the only thing more dangerous than power without restraint is restraint without the will to act. Outside the viewport, the belt's fragments drifted slowly, catching the light like quiet applause. The Confederation's acknowledgement of the mining belt resolution was public and politically dangerous. News networks across member worlds ran the headline, Humans settle long-standing dispute without firing a shot. Some commentators praised it as proof of humanity's diplomatic value. Others warned it was a calculated move to earn trust before a takeover. In the council chamber on Serath Prime, the divisions were sharp. Councillor J. Rada's voice sliced through the debate. They interfere in our disputes as if they are already members. This precedent must be erased before it grows teeth. Councillor Bren countered, they acted under our mandate, and they succeeded where we failed for decades. We should learn from them, not fear them. Chair Mitra listened, impassive. You will have your chance to decide, but first we must see what they do when cornered. The corner came sooner than anyone expected. Atlas intercepted the transmission first. A civilian convoy en route to Kelthar Prime is under attack, not by pirates, by ships flying the flag of a Confederation member state. Cole frowned at the tactical feed. That's not just a violation of trade law, that's open aggression. Halden's eyes narrowed. Which member? The Veskari Protectorate, Atlas said. Official statement, they claim the convoy was transporting illegal weapons. Our scans show nothing of the sort, just agricultural equipment and medical supplies. Cole's jaw tightened. They are baiting us. They hit a target we can't ignore, and they're hoping we overreact. Exactly, Halden said. If we strike, they'll call us warmongers. If we stand by, they'll call us cowards. She stood in silence for a long moment, then turned to Atlas. Deploy the Resolute and 2 escorts. We go in non-lethal. We take the convoy back intact. The operation unfolded in the cold light of the Kelthar belt. The Resolute dropped in with her escorts, shields bright but weapons locked. On the far side, the Veskari squadron formed a blockade. Open comms crackled with the voice of Commander Threx, Veskari captain. Human ships, you are trespassing in protectorate jurisdiction. Withdraw or be fired upon. Halden's reply was calm. Your jurisdiction ends at the trade lane. That convoy is under Confederation charter protection. Stand down. Threx's tone was almost amused. Or what? You'll lecture us to death. Cole leaned toward her. He's not just provoking you, Admiral. He's recording this for the Council. Halden smiled faintly. Then let's give them something worth watching. She keyed a private command. Atlas opened their comms to the entire sector. Every ship within 2 light minutes gets the feed. Done. Halden's voice rang clear across the stars. Commander Threx, by attacking this convoy, you have violated Articles 3 and 7 of the Confederation Charter, the same charter your protectorate swore to uphold. Every second you hold your position is another second your government stands in breach of its own laws. On the Veskari Bridge, Threx's smirk faltered as his comms officer whispered, "Sector traffic confirms the entire channel's open." Halden continued, "I'm offering you the chance to escort the convoy with us to Kelthar Prime. You will receive full inspection rights on arrival. This way, if your accusations are true, you can present evidence to the Council without dishonor. If they are false," her voice sharpened, "your people will see who brought shame to their flag." The silence stretched. Finally, Threx barked an order and the blockade shifted. The Veskari ships fell into a loose escort formation around the convoy. Hours later, the inspection on Kelthar Prime proved the cargo innocent. The council chambers erupted in outrage, some at the Veskari, some at Halden. Councillor J. Rada's voice dripped with accusation. "You humiliated a member state in front of the sector. That is not diplomacy, it is spectacle." Halden didn't flinch. Sometimes spectacle is the only language a bully understands, and sometimes the audience is the lesson. Bren leaned forward. "And what lesson did you mean to teach?" Halden met J. Rada's gaze. "That power does not give you the right to rewrite the law, that the law applies to those who wield power, especially to them." Later, in the quiet of Perseus Station's observation deck, Veckel joined Halden, the stars reflected in the glass between them. "You made enemies today," he said. "I've made them every day since we arrived," Halden replied. "The trick is to make the right ones." Veckel considered that. "In my world's history, we had a proverb, a wise leader counts his enemies as carefully as his friends." Halden smiled. "On Earth, we have something similar. Tell me who your enemies are, and I'll tell you who you are." They stood in silence for a while, watching the slow drift of the belt. Somewhere out there, more tests waited, and Halden intended to pass them all, not by avoiding conflict, but by choosing the kind worth having. The summons from the Council arrived at Perseus Station under a priority seal, the kind used only for matters that could shift galactic policy. Admiral Halden read the brief twice before setting it down. "They've sent us to Zathura." Cole blinked. "The Plague World?" Atlas's voice carried a note of caution. "Zathura Roman 4. Population, 3 million, under planetary quarantine for the last 9 years due to the Zathari spore contagion. Mortality rate, 78%. No cure." Cole frowned. "So what's the job?" Halden leaned back. "Deliver medical aid to the Capitol Dome. The catch, the aid convoy has to pass through the territory of the Carine Syndicate." Veckel, standing nearby, stiffened. "The Syndicate are not just pirates, they are warlords with their own private armies." "Exactly," Halden said. "And the Council's mandate is clear, no military engagement. We go in unarmed." Cole stared at her. "That's a death sentence." "Or an invitation," Halden said quietly. "Depends on how you knock." 2 days later, the USS Resolute led a convoy of 6 aid freighters toward Zathura Roman 4. The carrying ships appeared before the halfway mark, sleek, predatory hulls forming a loose wall across the trade lane. The comms lit up. A deep, rough voice filled the bridge. "Human fleet, you will turn over your cargo and depart. Any refusal will end with your ships as trophies." Halden stood, hands clasped behind her back. "This cargo is medicine for civilians. You'd be stealing from the dying." The voice laughed. "Then I will be merciful. I will make them die faster." Cole muttered, "Charming guy." Halden keyed a private channel to Atlas. Open a narrowband to their flagship, audio only, channel ready. Carrying Commander, Halden said, her tone now stripped of diplomacy. I know you by reputation. You pride yourself on strength, on dominance. But tell me, how will your people see you when they hear you robbed the sick and the weak? How long before one of your own captains decides you've shamed them enough? There was a pause, then the voice came back, harder now. You threaten me. I offer you a choice, Halden said. Take our cargo and you'll win today and lose the loyalty of half your fleet tomorrow. Escort us, and your name becomes the one that brought life instead of death. On the carrying flagship, the commander's inner circle argued. One urged seizing the cargo. Another pointed out the humans had likely already broadcast this conversation to nearby sectors. She's forcing you to pick the stage you want to stand on, one of them said. The commander's jaw worked. Then he snarled, fine, we escort, but if this is a trick. It isn't, Halden cut in. And you'll see that before the day ends. The convoy entered Zathura's atmosphere under carrying escort. The capital dome's landing bays were half collapsed. The air beyond shimmered with the spore haze that had kept the planet in isolation for nearly a decade. Halden insisted on meeting the planetary governor in person, even in full hazard gear. Sometimes, she told Cole, you have to stand where the problem lies to understand it. The governor, gaunt but defiant, met them in the bay. You're late, he said. We're here, Halden replied simply and handed him the manifest. It was more than just medicine. It included water purifiers, power relays, even seeds for hydroponic farming. As the cargo was unloaded, Halden called the carrying commander over comms. Your escort is noted. We'll see to it the council hears who made this possible. There was a grunt of acknowledgement. No thanks, but no attack either. Back aboard the Resolute, Cole studied the mission log. You realize they stacked the deck against us, right? Sending us through carrying space into a plague zone unarmed, they wanted us to fail. Halden nodded, and because we didn't, they'll set the bar higher next time. Veckel spoke quietly from the corner. They keep testing you because they're afraid of you. No, Halden said. They test us because they don't know us yet. Fear is easy, trust is earned. Cole frowned. And if they never trust us? Halden looked out at the stars. Then we'll keep acting like the allies we claim to be, until they can't tell the difference between trust and truth. On Sarath Prime, in a closed council session, J. Rada slammed her clawed hand on the table. They manipulated criminals into cooperating, and now those same criminals will think themselves legitimate. Bren leaned forward. Or perhaps they learned that legitimacy can pay better than raiding. Tell me, would you have gotten carrying ships to escort medicine instead of stealing it? J. Rada's eyes narrowed. We'll see how they handle the next trial. They can't win them all. Mitra, the chair, simply said, perhaps, but so far they've lost none. The message from Atlas was urgent but steady. Multiple distress signals detected. Origin, the Tehran border region, 3 different systems, all within Confederation territory. Attacks appear coordinated. Cole scanned the data stream. Targets are too far apart for a single fleet to hit simultaneously. Which means, Halden said, either multiple fleets or someone staging it to look that way. Veckel's gaze sharpened. The Tehran region is politically volatile. A strike there can spark chain reactions across 6 trade routes. Atlas added Council priority tag confirmed. They're ordering us to respond, but with an additional directive. Aid must be provided to all 3 systems in the order we choose. Cole looked up. That's the trap, isn't it? We can't get to all of them in time. Whichever one we leave for last will suffer the most. Halden didn't answer right away. She stared at the star chart, tracing the distances with her eyes. So they want to see our priorities, whether we choose based on strategy, politics, or compassion. The first system, Veltra, housed a major Confederation shipyard, critical to defense infrastructure. The second, Junar, was a small agricultural world, its harvest due in 3 weeks, crucial for food stability in nearby colonies. The third, Heron's Gate, was a mining station on the edge of Syndicate space, lightly defended but rich in rare metals. Cole ran the numbers. Strategically, Veltra comes first. Politically, Heron's Gate. Morally, Junar. Halden nodded slowly. And whatever we pick first, the Council will dissect the reasoning and spin it for their own factions. Veckel crossed his arms. In my culture, the test would not be which you save first. It would be whether you admit why you chose it. Halden smiled faintly. On Earth, we have a saying, character is what you do when no one is watching, but here everyone's watching and recording. After a short deliberation, Halden made the call. We go to Junar first, then Veltra, Heron's Gate last. Cole frowned. That leaves the mining station vulnerable for the longest. Yes, Halden said, but people can't eat starship hulls, and starving colonies don't care how many fleets you have. Veckel gave a slow nod. You've chosen life over leverage. Many in the Council will see that as weakness. Then they'll learn the kind of weakness we prefer, Halden replied. The jump to Junar dropped them into chaos. Pirate craft, not syndicate but smaller, desperate bands, were raiding grain silos and burning storage domes. Halden's voice was clipped. Atlas mark all raiders for targeted disablement, non-lethal where possible. Acknowledged. Within minutes, precision strikes from the Resolute's escorts severed engine blocks and cut power cores. Raiders drifted powerless in orbit as human marines in sealed armor moved in to secure the silos. The planetary governor's face appeared on comms, lined with exhaustion but bright with relief. We thought we'd been abandoned. Halden's tone softened. Not while we're still breathing. Veltra was next. By the time they arrived, the shipyard's defenses were already holding barely. The attackers here were better armed, more disciplined. Cole noted the difference. This isn't random. Somebody's distributing forces with surgical precision. Halden frowned, and they knew exactly how long it would take us to get here. It took 7 hours of coordinated fleet action to break the siege. Veltra's admiral sent formal thanks and a subtle warning. Whoever planned this will try again, and they'll aim where you aren't. By the time they reached Heron's Gate, it was worse than Halden feared. The mining station's distress beacon was silent. Debris floated in the cold, not total destruction, but enough to show the attackers had time to strip key facilities. Cole's voice was tight. We were too late. Halden's jaw set. Not too late to make them regret it. Atlas lit up the tactical feed. Residual jump trails match known syndicate patterns, cross-referencing with recent Zathura traffic match confirmed. Veckel glanced at her. The same syndicate you negotiated with during the plague run. Yes, Halden said, which means they are either testing whether our mercy has limits, or they're being paid to embarrass us. Cole muttered, either way they just bought themselves trouble. Halden didn't smile. No, they just bought themselves a lesson. Back on Perseus Station, the Council's response arrived within the day. It was split, as Halden had predicted. Some praised her for prioritizing civilian lives. Others accused her of jeopardizing economic stability. A few openly stated that humanity had revealed itself as naive idealists, unfit for the ruthless calculus of galactic politics. Halden read every word, then set the datapad down. Good. If they think we're predictable in our values, that's the best kind of trap. Cole tilted his head. Trap. History shows, Halden said, that opponents who think they know your limits will eventually test them, and when they do, you decide if it's the day to break their expectations. Veckel regarded her for a long moment. And will you? Halden's eyes stayed on the starfield. Only when the lesson will last longer than the wound. The first sign came not from Confederation channels, but from a whisper buried in a civilian trade signal. Atlas caught it, decrypted it in under a second, and projected it across the Resolute's main display. Confederation internal alert, Operation Silent Veil activated. Cole frowned. Never heard of it. Veckel's expression darkened. You wouldn't have. Silent Veil is not public. It's a doctrine reserved for what the Confederation calls existential destabilizers, threats they believe can't be contained politically. Halden's voice was calm, but her eyes were hard. And we're the destabilizer. Atlas overlaid the rest of the intel. 6 Confederation strike groups converging on Perseus Station. No formal declaration. The orders are clean, neutralize fleet assets, detain command staff, seize all classified technology. Cole swore under his breath. This isn't a vote, it's a coup. Veckel stepped forward. You should run. Halden shook her head. No, you don't run from family. Even when they're ready to throw you out of the house, you stay at the table. The Fifth Fleet rendezvoused in the Perseus Belt. 24 human ships emerged from stealth one by one, falling into formation around the station. Cole walked the tactical deck, checking readiness reports. Shields green. Weapons on standby. No targeting locks yet, he reported. Halden's voice carried through the command net. We do not fire first. Every second we wait is another second for cooler heads to intervene. Atlas interjected. Probability models show a 68% chance they will open fire within 30 minutes of arrival. Then we make those 30 minutes count, Halden said. The Confederation strike groups dropped into system in disciplined waves. 43 ships, their formation tight, weapons powered but not yet aimed. The lead vessel hailed Perseus Station. Admiral Ren Salvar appeared on the comm feed, tall, severe, and entirely without pretense. United Earth Fifth Fleet, you are ordered to stand down and submit to immediate inspection and custody. Halden inclined her head slightly. Admiral Salvar, is this the Council's decision? This action is authorized under Confederation security protocols. Which means, Halden said evenly, you didn't get a vote. Salvar's jaw tightened. You are too dangerous to be allowed time to influence the Council further. Cole muttered, at least he's honest. For 20 minutes the two fleets faced each other in silent orbit. Tension rippled through every deck. Marines stood ready in pressure-sealed corridors. Engineers kept shields tuned to maximum efficiency without appearing provocative. On the bridge, Halden studied Salvar's fleet through the viewport. Atlas open a private channel to their second and third line captains. Audio only. Channel ready? This is Admiral Halden. You have no quarrel with us. You have no orders from the Council. Ask yourself what happens when you destroy the only fleet that has been solving your problems without asking for payment. Ask yourself who benefits when the only voice telling you to remember your laws goes silent. Atlas confirmed quiet transmissions back from multiple captains, terse acknowledgments, requests for clarification, or simply silence. Seeds planted. At minute 29, Salvar's voice came back on the main channel. Your time is up. Halden gave one last command. Atlas put the Council on the line, all of them. Live relay to the chamber established. The sudden shift in the feed revealed the Council chamber mid-session. Dozens of delegates froze as they realized they were now watching the standoff live. Halden spoke directly to them. Members of the Council, you are about to witness an act of war carried out in your name without your vote. If you believe the Confederation stands for law, you will stop this. If you believe it stands for fear, you will let it happen. The chamber erupted in competing shouts. Chair Mitra's voice cut through. Admiral Salvar, you will hold your fire. On the comm, Salvar's eyes hardened, but his voice was level. Council orders received. The Confederation fleet powered down weapons in unison. Later, in the quiet of Perseus Station's observation deck, Cole exhaled. That was too close. Halden's gaze stayed on the stars. Close calls are how you learn the shape of the room you're in. Veckel studied her for a long moment. And what shape do you see? She turned to him. One where the walls move when you push them if you push in the right way. He nodded slowly. Then I hope you keep choosing the right walls. Halden didn't look away from the viewport. History doesn't remember the walls you pushed, only the doors you opened. The Council vote was scheduled for sunrise on Serath Prime. Halden didn't sleep the night before. She walked the quiet corridors of Perseus Station, her steps echoing softly. Every deck she passed, crew members nodded, some saluting, others simply watching, waiting for the answer that could change the galaxy. Atlas's voice followed her. You've calculated the probable outcome. I have, Halden said. And too close to call, she admitted. But that's not the point. Then what is? That whatever happens, they'll remember how we behaved when the choice was theirs. On Serath Prime, the council chamber was full to the walls. Delegates sat stiff, murmuring to aides. Outside the dome, a storm system rolled over the planet, lightning flashing through thick clouds, a backdrop more fitting for war than diplomacy. Chair Mitra opened the session. We are gathered to determine whether the United Earth government shall be admitted as a full member state of the Galactic Confederation. Before the vote, the floor opened for final statements. Councillor J. Rodder rose immediately. Humans are dangerous. They manipulate criminals into allies, shame member states, and interfere in disputes without invitation. Their fleets are too large, their technology too advanced, their ambitions too opaque. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Then Bren stood. They are dangerous, but danger is not always the enemy. In the last year, they've resolved conflicts we allowed to fester for decades. They've done it without demanding tribute, without conquest, and most tellingly, without breaking their word. Mitra looked toward the human delegation. Admiral Halden, you may speak. Halden stepped forward, her uniform immaculate, her tone steady. Members of the council, I will not pretend we are harmless. We are not. Our history is written in wars, mistakes, and stubborn survival. We've fought ourselves harder than any outside enemy ever could. She paused, letting the silence draw them in. But we also carry the memory of those wars. On Earth, we learned that strength without restraint is tyranny, and restraint without strength is surrender. The balance is hard. We fail at it, but we try again, because the alternative is to become the very thing we once fought against. She looked around the chamber, making brief eye contact with as many delegates as she could. You've tested us in the open, in secret, sometimes in ways meant to make us fail. We met those tests not because we wanted your approval, but because we already live by the principles you claim as your own. That the law must bind the strong as much as it binds the weak. That power is most honorable when it serves those who cannot repay it. Her voice softened, but her words carried. You can say no today, we'll accept it. We will still help where we can. But understand this, saying no won't stop us from being your neighbors. Saying yes will mean you've chosen to make us your family. The chamber was silent for a long breath. Then Mitra called for the vote. Names were read. Lights flashed green or red beside each delegate's station. The tally climbed, wavering close to the threshold. J. Rada's vote was red. Bren's was green. Veckel's, as the representative from the Observer Corps, was the last. He pressed green. The final count locked. A majority, slim but enough. Mitra's voice carried across the chamber. By decision of the Galactic Council, the United Earth government is admitted as a full member state with all rights and responsibilities thereof. Back on Perseus Station, the announcement hit like a wave. Cheers erupted across the decks. Cole grinned, shaking his head. We actually did it. Halden allowed herself a small smile. No, we started it. Membership isn't the end of the road, it's the first mile. Atlas interjected incoming priority transmission from the Carine Syndicate commander. Halden raised an eyebrow. Put him through. The familiar rough voice came on. I heard you got your seat at the table. Don't forget, some of us aren't in that room. If you mean what you say about family, prove it out here. Halden's expression didn't change. I intend to, because in our family, you're responsible for more than your own house. Later, standing alone in the observation deck, Veckel joined her. I hope you know the weight you've taken on. I do, she said. He studied her. And when the day comes that they forget why they let you in? Halden looked at the stars, the slow drift of the belt, the endless dark beyond. Then we remind them, patiently, firmly, and if necessary, loudly. She turned to leave, her footsteps steady, carrying the weight of history and the hope of something better. Behind her, Perseus Station glowed like a lantern in the dark. A promise that some lights don't fade, no matter how deep the void.